All right, welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
All right, love the energy, love all this good stuff. We got returning guests again, Armin. How's everything been going for you, man?
Good, everything's good. How about with you guys?
Awesome.
You know,
Glad to have you back, bud. Thank you.
For
yeah,
sure. Yeah, of course.
I saw the YouTube video, and I was like, oh, I know who we got to talk to now. When whenever I see folks like go to different countries and want to explore the natural habitats, that man, it just there's something in me that like right now like I got goosebumps just thinking about it. It's crazy. So let's kind of get into the first part of that, like Herper in Cuba. How was that? How was everything going over there?
Well, it's a super cool place. A lot of the species I keep, anoles and microgeckos, both come from there. So it's a place I've always wanted to go. I didn't think I'd ever be able to do it, but I went for the first time in March of this year. And then I went again in July. And the island is, for a Caribbean island, it's pretty big, and the roads are bad and it's hard to get from one side to the other. So you kind of have to pick and choose where you're going to go. And there's just so much to see and do. The first trip in March was to the east, and that was more like microgecko focused. And then this last trip I did was in the west, and that was more anole focused.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How long did you stay out there for each time?
Each time went for a week, so like 8 days and 7 nights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So actually, before we kind of get into all that, you moved to a new facility, right?
Yeah, I did. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. I was to say, what was the reasoning behind that one?
well, my other place was pretty big, a little more space than I needed, and the rent was
Okay.
just crazy, so it was unnecessary. I wanted to kind of condense a little. I just had so
Okay.
much going on that I kind of lost the enjoyment in it. I was, had thousands of lizards. I mean, I still have tons of lizards, but um I like for the anoles, I got them all bigger enclosures. I'm working on making them all more bioactive and stuff like that. Kind of why I got, excuse me, why I got into it in the first place. So just kind of going back to that, and all the space wasn't necessary for the goals I'm trying to go after now. So that's kind
Oh,
of the reason. Also to save some money, because I mean, I'm in California and everything's super expensive here. So that was kind of some of the logic there too.
yeah. Those California prices are starting to creep up to Arizona. I'm like,
I
yo, y'all need to stay over there. Like my rent is getting ridiculous right now, man. So I saw also like on the YouTube because you're doing you actually put some anoles outside. How's that going?
That's good. They're out here and they're doing really well. I wish I could keep more stuff outside. Like, I actually visited my friend John, Crown Giant, on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I actually went to Cuba with him the first time in March. But whenever I visit him, he has most of his animals outside. And it's
Hmm.
just, I'm so jealous that he's able to do that, because you can just tell they really enjoy the sun and stuff. So he's in Florida, so that's easy for him because he has all
Yeah,
the Caribbean stuff. But I can only really keep like green anoles and maybe like false chameleons and stuff outside here. But they seem to really enjoy it, and it's pretty fun.
yeah.
So I like it.
Have you noticed that that behavior change in them?
The green anoles definitely like to be green more when they're outside versus inside. They would
Okay.
be brown more often. So I definitely noticed that, and they're definitely a little more confident. So they won't
Nice.
they are not skittish when you first come up to the enclosure versus in here they were a little shyer. So that's cool to see them change a little in that way. There's just no comparison with real sunlight,
Yeah.
especially for lizards. That it's not like they're nocturnal or anything. It's like these lizards are in the sun all day long. So there's a UV bulb is good enough to get them by, but there's nothing compared to the real thing. So
Sure.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Like I want to do some outside stuff so bad over here in Arizona. I got to find that that one that's going to take the heat, but then also be able to kind of take that cold as well. Because
right,
Arizona, we have our crazy highs, and then we'll have not crazy lows, but it's a big change for them. So
for
got to
sure.
see what I can find, and just play with that stuff for a little bit. But whenever I move and we actually have our own house that we're not paying rent on, then I could start making
Yeah,
some damage.
for sure.
That's when Anthony will be coming out here to help me build.
Nice.
Build I can do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So talk to us about Cuba. Where did you go? Were there forests? Where were you looking? Where were you? Where did you have your sights on when you went there the second time?
Okay, yeah. So the second time, the goal was really to see two species that I really wanted to see, and that was the Cuban stream anole, which is Anolis vermiculatus, and then the Cuban cliff anole, which is Anolis barchi. So Anolis vermiculatus is a little bit more widespread than barchi. So that's the first one we went and looked for. And you land in Havana, which is the capital of Cuba. And then from there, I got picked up by my guide, his driver. The guy's name is Luis Diaz. He's the curator of natural history there for like all of Cuba, and he's the professor of herpetology at the university there. So he's like
Oh, that's
the
cool.
Nice.
main, yeah, he's the main guy there, and I think one of the only people that is really doing herping tours out there. So from there, get picked up, and then about 2 hours from the airport, we go a little more west, and we stay at all private houses. Like, no, we never stay at hotels that are owned by the government or anything. That's kind of a rule. If you're from the
Okay.
U.S., you're not allowed to.
Wow.
So we basically get to the house we're staying at. We put all our stuff away, and then we just drive 10 minutes from there. And the first stream we go to, I was kind of blown away. There were stream anoles everywhere. It was like within 10 minutes, probably saw 50 of them, which was really crazy
Damn.
considering it's like one of my favorite species. Like, besides me, I think maybe two or three other people are still breeding them. So, in the US at least. So, it's just like such a crazy common animal. I never expected to be that common. And it was really cool to be able to see them in the wild. And they're a lot different in the wild, a lot more bold and outgoing. In the terrarium, anyone who's kept them knows it's basically like keeping an empty tank. The second you walk in a room, you just hear noises and they're hiding behind plants. So I had one that was super bold, but then I moved. And once I moved him, he freaked out and he became super shy, just like the rest. They're in the terrarium, they're kind of a shy species, but in nature, walk right up to them. You couldn't like get more than 5 feet before they scurry off a little, but they were really, really outgoing. So that was super incredible to see. And that's like, it's like not like a rainforest, but it's like not a super dry forest. I don't know really how to describe it. It's almost like it's similar to like California, Arizona forest where it's not
Oh, okay. Yeah,
not like
yeah.
a rainforest, but it's still lots going on and streams
It's
and
a lot,
stuff like
lot of
that.
coverage.
Yeah, exactly.
Tempers. Well, for us, like, because I go to the forest, the Prescott National Forest, whenever I go up north, and like, I mean, of course, the temperatures are a little bit, they're much lower, but it's a lot of coverage, so the sun's not really going through a
Right.
whole lot,
Yeah.
and the dirt is not at is a little bit loose, but not crazy loose, but you can still tell like the soil has a little bit of moisture to it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like that. And most of the anoles, I brought a UV meter and a temp gun and all that stuff. Most of the anoles weren't really sitting in the sun. The only time they were in sun was like early in the morning just to warm up a little. They were never in very high UV, which is something I noticed with my stream anoles. They're not like a heat-seeking lizard, and they don't like just bask. Um, so that was cool to kind of reaffirm that the way I was keeping them was correct. But yeah, that was
It's gotta feel good.
really, yeah. So it was cool. And then after that, to see the cliff anole, that was about 4 hours from the stream anole. So we drove to, they're called the Sandstone Hills in Vinales is the town, the area. And the cliff anoles, just like the stream anoles, once you get to the right spot up against the cliffs, they're like super dense everywhere. And those ones you can literally like poke them on the nose and they
Oh,
freak out a little and then they move a few inches away and they just don't move. It's really weird. And they're kind of like that in the terrarium too. They're not very shy, which is why they're kind of fun to keep. Also, they have like bright blue feet, a purple tail, bright purple on the face and then really bright yellow stripes on the side. So they're really pretty lizard and they're a good size. So again, they didn't utilize a lot of UV. They were also not really in sun. They were always in the shade. But of course, the ambient temperature is like 82, 83, no matter where you are. So they're still warm. And yeah, they were just, that was, I think the streaminol was really cool to see in the wild, but the cliffinol was just, I think, my favorite to see because I just really wasn't expecting them to be so like outgoing in nature. And so,
Mhm.
and just outside, it's like crazy. This animal looks like a little kid colored it in with random crayons. It doesn't make sense why it's on a gray cliff with blue and yellow, and so that was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Any idea as to why? I mean, I say it all the time in all the podcasts. You know, nature makes no mistakes, and I love to think that all these animals that come in such vibrant colors are a vibrant color for a reason. Did you get any indication as to why these things are as bright as they are?
No, it makes zero sense. I mean, besides like maybe attracting a mate or being like brighter to yeah attract a mate or
Makes
show
sense.
other males why
Was it?
they're better. Other than that, there's no reason they should. They stick out like a sore thumb, so it's very
Yeah, yeah.
strange.
Are the females not colored? The females.
The females have the same color, just not maybe like 75% as bright. So they still have the bright colors, just not as crazy.
And the time of the year that you went, was that considered like breeding season for them or no?
Yeah, so it's been a dry year, Luis was telling me. So normally when I was going, there would be a lot of babies. Like they start breeding in the spring and then babies start hatching in early summer. But it's been so dry that that's their normal. Once it starts raining, it's kind of their normal cue to start breeding, and that's obviously also for the eggs to be able to, not desiccate and go bad. There weren't any babies at all, which was Luis was super surprised that in July there weren't babies, but they did. There was a lot of like breeding behavior and a lot of stuff like that going on. So I did get to witness a lot of that. And for example, like we'd catch a male and we'd put him like we put this male and then we put like another male that was on the cliff right there and the other male would like freak out and start doing push-ups and sticking out its tongue and wagging its tail, and it was pretty cool to see how like aggressive they were. Even though we were holding the other male in our hand, he knew he was looking at another male and he was defending his territory. Which another weird thing was like they were super territorial like that, but then when we would go back at night to go herping, like on the insides of the cave, you would see like three or four males and like five or six females all sleeping on the same like cliff together. So I'm not sure when the males decide it's like, okay, well, it's 7 p.m. Let's put aside our differences and all sleep next to each other. I don't know when they do that, but during the day they're super aggressive, but at night they all kind of sleep in the same area, which I thought was super strange and interesting.
Very
Oh,
interesting.
man.
Yeah.
So with like I said, with you going to Cuba and everything like that, right? What has it influenced anything of the how you care for your animals now?
I would say it kind of reaffirmed what I was planning on doing when I moved to this new spot is just give animals more space and kind of try to make more naturalistic enclosures cuz I mean it's cool to breed stuff and hatch stuff and all that jazz, but I got into it because I've always enjoyed the animals for what they are and they're not just like, a commodity that I'm trying to make the most of and trying to sell. And so I've always been a herper before like, keeper, and of course, I have so many animals now, it's hard to go herping often. But just going out there and seeing the animals I keep in nature and appreciating them for what they are, where they're from, kind of made me realize, yeah, I really need to step up my game on enclosures and kind of how I'm keeping. And not that I'm keeping them wrong. I mean, they're happy, they're breeding, but it's it's much cooler to set them up with something that's more naturalistic because I think you can just appreciate them way more. I wish I could go see every single species I keep in the wild because it's a totally new appreciation for
Oh
what we
yeah,
have.
definitely.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Well,
crazy.
I can imagine.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you look at some people, and
Be right back.
I'm not bashing anybody out there, guys, but you know, people that keep these reptiles and these plastic bins with paper towels, and I look at them and I'm just like, I guess you have your prerogative, but these animals evolved, over millions of years and in very unique environments and ecosystems to act a specific way. If you just gave them a piece of that, you'd have a whole different animal. Give them a little something, a little enrichment more than a paper towel, and you swear you had different pets. It's a giant pleasure watching animals in fully planted enclosures, as big as you can give them, and watching them exhibit natural behaviors. And it really is a real pleasure.
I agree. And that's I mean, I've again no hate to anyone that keeps stuff in racks or in simple setups, but I kind of got sidetracked into that way of thinking that if I keep it simple, I can produce more and I can do more of this and that. And yeah, it's kind of true, but at the same time, that's not why I enjoy reptiles. I enjoy them because of what they are, not because of their, inherent value. Like I keep green and knolls, and they're one of my favorite animals to keep. They're worth $5, but they're still amazing to me. So it's like I that's also, like I said, during this move and being able to go see stuff in the wild, that's really been a big reason, I think, and just coming back to why I want to start keeping stuff that way again. I always have, just I've had a lot of stuff simpler because it's easier to collect eggs and babies and this and that, but it takes away from the enjoyment, which I'm trying to get back to that.
Yeah,
Sure,
I
we
think
all
we
have
all
our
fall in that
reasons.
trap.
And again, people that keep ball
Yeah,
python breeders, that keep ball pythons in racks, they have their reason. But that doesn't take away from the fact that animals in a certain environment will live a certain way. Now, if that's not your thing, right? If you don't care about animal behavior and watching an animal interact itself, and you just care about breeding, then God bless you. Anyone out there that's breeding
right.
and doing it a clean, streamlined way, amen to you. It's a different experience when you keep, I guess that's really my point, is keeping an animal in one way or another will drastically change how an animal acts, and one's viewing pleasure.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, I
and I
agree.
guess yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all fall in that trap, right? Of as you start getting more and more into this hobby, then you start collecting more and more. You're like, all right, I gotta make this a much simpler setup so I can go ahead, like you said, find eggs or collect as many as you can of that reptile or whatever you got going on. I know I started like some of my setups are more starting to get more elaborate as I'm getting more into the hobby. Like I said, I got like Cerdaclys zebricus. I I moved them from a bin into like a nice little bio. Like they got plants and everything. They got moss everywhere, all these different logs and everything, all these different things they can climb on, all that stimulation, right? And now it's it is what it is. I gotta go break it all up when I gotta go find eggs, but it's just something you gotta live with for your animals to thrive, right?
Totally.
Yeah, so I mean that's fine. So with your Knowles now, like what are you like you said you wanted to keep them in bigger setups. So what are you aiming for right now?
Yeah, so before I was keeping most of them in like 12, 12, 18s as pairs, and now everything is in 18, 18, 24s. So much bigger. And then just more, before it was just dirt and sticks and stuff like that. And I still haven't planted everything, but now I'm doing lots more plants and stuff like that, and just bigger enclosures, more space. And at the old place, I had at the peak like over 200 pairs, and now I'm down to like 50. So,
That's a
but
huge
even
swing.
then, it's like I was producing so many animals because it's not like they don't. A female will lay like 4 or 5 eggs a month, and I had trios and pairs, and I was hatching, hundreds and hundreds of babies, and at some points didn't know what to do with all of them. So this is a more manageable, sustainable what I'm doing and it's more enjoyable. Like I said, it's not like constant work, constant stuff going on. So it's
Good
better
for
for
you.
sure.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So with the Cuban streaming Knowles, right? Like in your facility, Do you have them set up like paludariums or anything like that? Because like I said, they're near water. They can go into the
Right.
water, right?
Yeah, so I used to have them paludarium style for a little while a few years ago, and then I just didn't do that anymore because of the upkeep, and they would always dive into the water and freak out, and it was just a little too stressful for them.
Okay.
Um, the enclosure setting, so I haven't been keeping them that way. But also, interestingly enough, when I went there to Cuba, none of them dove into the water when they were frightened. Normally, if they were like on the bank and you try to grab them or catch them or something, they would just scurry farther along the bank.
Hmm.
Going in the water was like a very last
Very
resort
last.
thing for
Gotcha.
them. And I didn't even witness any of them do it. And I tried to catch tons of them. So it wasn't like, I mean, they'll do it. I mean, I watch them do it in the terrarium and they're designed to do it. But I think that's a super last resort thing. So I don't think uh, keeping them in a terrarium, like even when I kept them in a 36 by 18 by 36, the biggest, paludarium size you could get, it just, they're a large lizard and it just doesn't, the water thing just doesn't work because they are really flighty in the terrarium. So when you walk by and you spook them, they're diving in the water and they're staying under there and they're freaked out. So now I just keep them with like, I have to miss them a lot because they're streaming old. They need a lot of water, so they drink a lot and they need really high humidity. So now I just keep like a. They're still not super naturalistic because it's hard to do that without giving them a stream. So I have a ton of really deep sphagnum moss that stays super humid and keeps the humidity high, and lots of branches that they can hide behind and plants and stuff just because they're so shy. And that's the only way to make them feel comfortable and still breed. Um, just give them cover. So, but like I said, it just kind of changed my perspective on how I'm keeping them because they're a totally different animal in the wild. Even though I do my best here, they're just very, very nervous in captivity versus in the nature. They're so it kind of bummed me out a little bit because I want to figure out a way to make them happier here. But of course, some animals they're just not meant for that, and that's why I haven't like put a huge focus on them. I don't post them a lot because people always ask me for them because they've seen the cool video of me dunking one in water and it looks
Yeah.
all like metallic, but they're not. That's just the one 5 second clip I filmed one time and I never filmed it again because I realized, well, it's pointless. I don't want this. Isn't even if you have the money, you probably shouldn't have this animal unless you're like super hardcore and know what you're getting. And I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, you're gonna have an empty cage. You're never gonna see them. So yeah, they're cool, but that's why I don't post them much, just because they're not a good pet reptile. They're very very shy. But it did, yeah. Also, it's just they're kind of finicky with breeding. Some years are really good, some years are slow. So that's why I also went and I realized they get a lot colder at night than I thought. Like I was there in July, which is, besides August is the hottest month there, and at night it was getting into the like low 70s. So, and then I talked to the guy Luis, he says, in the winter it gets down to like in the 50s. So I think that also might be a thing I'm missing is cooling them down that much in the because like I said, it's kind of like California, Arizona type vibe. It's a little
Yeah. Yeah.
more tropical than that, but that's the temperatures. It's super hot in the day, it gets cooler at night, and it does have a legit winter season. So I need to figure out how I can give them that. I don't know if that affects the breeding because I've had years where they breed well and then years where they kind of totally stop. So there's so much to learn about, all these, every single species is so different. And that's one that's why I went because I wanted to know more how to keep them better.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So what kind of temperatures were over in Cuba while you were there?
Well, it depends where you go. Like, where the streaming nose were, because there was major like cover from trees and stuff, it never was really above like 82, 83. And like I said, at night, it was in the low 70s. So that's a pretty big temperature difference. Then, same with where the cliff knolls were, the ambient out of the sun, because the cliffs are like right against the forest, so they're getting very little light. It was also like low 80s. Similar at night, it was like the 70s. And then there was other parts. like in March when we went to the east, a lot of the micro geckos I keep, I didn't realize how hot they were. Some of these micro geckos, they're living in like agaves, like dead agaves, and the agaves are like, you tempt on the agave where the micro geckos are living, they're like in the 90s, and they're like cooking, and the air temperature is like 95. And they're just sitting, they're living in these dead agaves that are just getting blasted by sun. So a lot of the micro geckos I didn't realize were in such a dry, it literally looked like I was in Tucson, like how dry and weird it was. So
Yeah,
it was, yeah, it was crazy.
yeah.
But
Which
yeah,
geckos?
it's just, so those were spherodactyl. There were in the east we saw Spherodactylus dimorphicus, torii, and ocuhol, ocujol.
Okay.
So those three, they're kind of bigger ones. The dimorphicus are really cool because they're like the females are brown with the yellow tail, but the males have like a yellow base color with lots of mottled spots. And then the torii is a cool one because the females are banded, black and white bands, and the males are orange and purple, which is crazy. And then the Ocuhol are also banded, but the males are yellow with spots. So those are really cool ones. And like I said, I knew they liked it warm because I keep them warm, but I didn't know they like it cooking. Like I was blown away. So that was pretty cool. And also with the Dimorphicus, I hatch a lot more females than males. Like I'd say I hatch like 80% female, which that kind of made more sense to me. I realized, well, they're so warm out there. Maybe if I keep them warmer, I'll hatch more males. I still haven't really tested it because I haven't got around to like setting up a really warm incubator because I'm kind of nervous about cooking the eggs too much and trying to figure out how I can give a good night drop. Because again, it was like high 90s in the day, but it was getting to the low 80s at night. So I want to be able to give that. I haven't got around to that, but that's another thing on the list that I want to figure out um, and see if that makes a difference. But it's weird because the other species, I don't breed torii right now, but the Ocuhol, I hatch like even though those even ratio, even though those like it just as warm. So it's all weird and trippy. It doesn't really make sense, but it's working on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Great
we're always working
observations,
on
though.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, going over there and like I said, I've been to a few different countries, and so I've taken some of the like not even in those habitats, but just being in those countries and feeling what the weather is, and trying to make that trying to imitate that into some of my closures. Like I've been to Australia, I've been to Thailand. What else do I keep that's here? I've been to Africa, so I try to mimic some of those places. What I felt like when if I put my hand in there, yeah, that feels like Australia. Put my hand in, yeah, that feels like Tanzania or some shit like that, right? So long as like you could do something like that, I think you're going in that right direction. So like you said, with those micros, you haven't messed with the incubator stuff, but have you started messing with the actual like enclosures and like starting to all those things that you notice in Cuba? Are you starting to put it into the enclosure?
Yeah, totally. So like for example, all those micro geckos that we found, the way we would find them is we would basically be driving along the side of or driving along the road. We'd look on the side, and if there was a dead agave, that means okay, there's probably a pair living in there. So we would get the agave, shake it, and the pair would usually fall out, or maybe some babies too.
Yeah,
So we also, another way we would find them, we would flip rocks and they'd just be living on the underside of rocks. So I've tried to, at least for those species, I kind of already had them that way, but replicate it. I don't really like using rocks because if they fall and crush them, but I've tried like stacking more cork so that they can, have those crevices like they would in an agave or under rocks and stuff like that. And then also just keeping them in general a little warmer. So also, I've always kept a lot of them without UV, and I still keep some of them without UV just because I've bred multiple generations without it and never really had a problem. But seeing how hot they were and how much sun was hitting where they were, not like they sit out and bask, but I know they definitely will probably use some of that. So I've tried to start giving stuff some more UV, where I can. But again, that's also a battle because on one rack, when I have like 40 enclosures, a bunch of UV bulbs stacked on top of each other, it starts getting a little too hot. So it's been a real game of trying to figure everything out in a environment like this. It's easy when you have one cage and you can perfect it, but when I'm trying to
Yeah.
perfect hundreds of cages, it gets really complicated. So, but yeah, it's that was also eye-opening seeing how they live over there. And they always live in pairs, which I've always kept them in pairs because I know they can fight, but they choose to live in pairs, which was just cool to
That's awesome.
again reaffirm how I've been keeping them.
Yeah. Was
You said
like the go ahead, go ahead.
sometimes you would shake an agave and the babies would fall out too. So the babies are staying close.
Yeah, so even in my terrariums, you can let babies hatch in the enclosure, and the parents most of the time don't hurt them. It's once the babies start becoming sexually mature is when they'll start fighting. So I'm sure that's how it is over there as well. Once babies start getting bigger, they'll leave and go find their own place to live. Initially, there were babies with the parents, and we'd find tons of hatched eggs in the same plant. So it was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So with the agave, was it petrified or was it like really hard? Like you know how like the sun might bake something and it gets really hard and then they kind of now and then they stay in there, or was it like just starting to rot or something like that?
Well, it was like super dry. So
Yeah,
it was
getting that
like
petrified.
yeah, like you can crumple it up in your hand and it like disintegrate
Oh, okay.
basically. Is how dry they
Yeah.
were. So they
Okay.
were like dead, but
Okay.
they weren't like super hard. You could definitely like shake them and it like kind of fall apart.
Hmm. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Um.
What so what were some other observations that you made about the environments that the gecko were how many different spots did you go to the first time with the geckos?
The first time, well, we went to 3 spots for the geckos. Or 4. We went to 4 spots for the geckos. Yeah.
And were they all fairly close together or they all significantly
No,
different
they were all super
environments?
different, but like one spot was literally on the side of the road where we found the Dimorphicus and the agaves. Another spot we drove maybe 3 hours from there, and we went down a dirt road on the edge of a lake, and there were dead agaves there, and that's where we found the torii. And then a few days later, we went somewhere else on a hiking trail, and there were agaves there, and that's where we found the alcohol. And then another spot where we had like lunch, like a picnic. There were a bunch of rocks, and the rocks there are like limestone, like old coral. So flipping those, found more alcohol there. And then I guess a fifth spot was another hiking trail that was like super hot, and found more stuff there.
Did
Most of
any
the
of them
time,
did any of
go
them
ahead.
share the same range? Did you ever find like
No,
in any one of them places?
so they have the same technically the same range, but like this spot will have Dimorphicus, this spot will have Torii, this spot will have Dimorphicus, this spot will have Ocul, this will have Torii, and it's like they're in the same area and they overlap a little, but once one spot has one species, the other species doesn't mix with them, which I found was super interesting. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it
you
is.
could drive on a road for 30 minutes and it has one species, and then 30 more minutes away is another species, and then you keep going and then that species comes back. So it's weird, and there's no
Okay.
like rhyme or reason,
It's
which
very, very
Luis was
weird.
explaining to me. And yeah,
When
kind
you
of
think
weird.
about an island, I mean, it's not the biggest island, but how different can the climates be, right? These animals all have to live in somewhat of a similar
Yeah,
environment. It's just weird how certain species are found here, certain are found there, but yet not everywhere.
yeah,
Very, very unique, very interesting.
yeah. And also on that March trip, that was like down by the coast in the lowlands where it gets super hot. We also did a lot of herping in the mountains, which John really wanted to see a lot of the dwarf anoles. So we saw like Anolis isolepis, Anolis toldo, Anolis altitudinalis. They're all like anoles this big. Their heads are like half their body. They're super weird looking animals. But those are in like the cloud forests, and it was getting, like into the low 60s at night,
Really?
and we would find them sleeping on branches, and that's the only way to really find them. You can't find them during the day.
Interesting.
But yeah, the island, like you said, it's not a huge island, but there's so many different habitats just because there's so many different elevations.
Yeah.
And one part stretches kind of way far east, and then the other part is so west that western part is really different than the east. The east is like straight up a desert, and then when the middle section is really jungly, and then the west is more like temperate. So
How
it's just a
far would it
weird.
take you to drive from one side of Cuba to the other?
I think if the roads were like the U.S., it might take a couple hours, but because the roads are so bad there, it would probably take you a day for
Yeah.
like, or maybe like 12, 16
Was it
hours,
all dirt
something like
roads?
that. No, there's good roads, but then some roads haven't been fixed for
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
60, 70 years.
Yeah.
Potholes and
I'm just
I
because
realize
when
it's
I was
much bigger
in,
than I thought it was.
yeah,
yeah, it's fairly. I mean, there's a lot going on there, so
Yeah.
it's a cool. Everyone's so nice. The food's really good, but yeah, there's the first time we went, they had a huge fuel shortage, like gas, and gas was like a couple $100 a gallon.
whoo,
There, even if you could get to a gas station, there wouldn't be, the power wouldn't be on because they had rolling blackouts for half the
mhm,
day. There would be no power in the whole country. They turn it off because there was no energy. And then,
God damn,
yeah, that was a nightmare. So everyone was like on horse and carriage and bikes and stuff like that. So
damn,
yeah, the second
holy
time
shit.
the fuel thing wasn't that bad, but still it was interesting to find a gas station with gas. So yeah.
So when you're doing these trips, right? How much planning does it usually take for you to it's like, all right, cool, from beginning to end, like before you actually start making that trip? How long does it usually take you for that?
Yeah. Well, thankfully, Luis he's been, I mean, he's lived there his whole life, of course. And he's mainly doing birding trips, but his main love is herpetology. But there's so many more people that go birding than herping, pay for a herping
Okay,
trip. So
yeah,
when he gets to do a herping trip, he's super excited. But he's planning everywhere we're staying, and then of course he knows everywhere we're going because he's the one. I mean, he's the main guy. He literally has found every single reptile and amphibian in Cuba and taken a picture of it, and he's about to, I think, publish his book on the reptile amphibians of Cuba. All pictures by him,
nice.
and he's described, I think, a dozen or 2 dozen species on the island. So he knows where everything is. So he's doing all of that. On my end, it's just a matter of you have to plan a few months in advance, of course, so he can book everything because getting in contact with everyone, sometimes there's no power, no cell service, so they have to plan all that out. And then you have to get a visa, which is honestly, it takes like 10 minutes online and it costs like $100 and that's it. And then book your tickets and it's pretty easy.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
to fly
written
out and
on my end. It's not that hard, so it's
okay.
yeah.
So
No
when you're
issues
staying
coming
at
from America or nothing, huh? Make it
The
just
first time we flew into the east, which we landed in Santiago, they gave us a bit of a hard time. Once we got through customs, they wanted to screen our bags extra, and they asked us a bunch of questions like why we were coming and all this stuff. And then they just let us through and no problem. The second time when I came to Havana, they literally just stamped my passport, or they actually don't stamp your passport, but they just look and they let you through and that's it. So no problem. They don't have any issue with us. It's more the US having issue with them.
mm,
So
gotcha.
but now I think Trump or the administration, whatever, just made some new, they're planning on making it more strict again to go and come from there. So we'll see how hard it is to get that visa again if I do go back in the next, whatever time. But I still think it shouldn't be too crazy. I think it's just more of a deterrent. Try to make people feel like they shouldn't go, but once you're there, and of course when you have a guide and a driver, it's super cool. It's no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. So when you were like you said, because like you can't stay at hotels, you had to stay at like was it just like this is some random person's house or like it's like an Airbnb type of thing?
Yeah, it's like Airbnb. It's not like Airbnb, but it's like someone's like if someone. It's basically someone has a property and they have two houses, and one house they live in, and
Yeah.
the other house has like four or
So
five
one's like a
rooms that each
yeah, like a
have
little
their own
casita or
thing.
something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Okay, cool.
designed for people to come and stay because they know that Americans aren't permitted to stay in government owned things. So a lot of people have those kind of arrangements. So or like for example, downstairs the family lives and upstairs is like four or five rooms where
Hmm.
guests stay. And
Okay.
they make you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And usually the food
Oh,
is
nice.
like when we stayed by the ocean, they were catching lobsters and catching fish and making us that. When we
Oh
stayed in the
yeah.
country, they roasted a whole pig for us and just cool stuff like that. But it's a lot of
Damn.
rice, a lot of beans, a lot of bananas,
Yeah, you're
a
eating
lot of
good though.
mangoes. It's a lot of stuff that most of the food is they're growing
Oh
themselves.
yeah.
A lot of chicken, so stuff like that.
Yeah, you were eating good, man. Shit.
It was yeah, it was I mean, the chicken was running around like 30 minutes before we ate it, so it was like legit the real
Can't
deal.
get any fresher than that.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Oh man, what was I about to say? Man, so with that, we're talking about that. So I'm guessing all this is inclusive into the whole the price that you're paying, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you basically of course you have to bring cash cuz they can't accept any type of payment, but
In the
you
cards,
just
yeah.
bring cash and you pay and they some guy basically uh, meet you at the airport. Um, and oh wait,
You
what?
disappeared. There
Some
you go.
guy when you're getting picked up by the driver and Luis, they have another guy who's cut from the like agency who organizes the tours.
Okay.
Because they're not allowed to organize it on their own. Like Luis can go organize it on his own. He would literally like go to jail. They still have to
Yeah.
give the government their cut. So they have someone come and pick up the money, and then once you give them the money, you're good to go for the trip. So yeah,
Nice.
Interesting.
Are you allowed to talk or so how much did this total this trip cost you? If you're allowed to say. I don't know.
yeah. No, it's no problem. So it's
Okay.
about well, depending on the trip, and depending how many people go, determines the cost. Like Luis does tours where 15 or 20 people are going at a time and they take a bus, especially when they do birding trips and stuff like that. They're doing trips like that, and I think those trips cost in the range of like 2 grand before you get your plane ticket and stuff. But when it's just one person, or like when me and John went, it gets more expensive because Luis is there just for you. You have a driver just for you. They're renting a small car just for you. Uh, so then it gets to more like 3,500, 4 grand range for the week. Yeah.
Still not bad for a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, and especially like when it's one on one and you get to I literally said I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see that. And he took me everywhere I wanted to go, see everything I wanted to see. It was just me and him and it's kind of hard to beat that, especially when it's like a dream to do, you know.
Yeah.
And if you book the tickets ahead of time and at a good time, I mean, it's kind of expensive to go to Cuba flying, especially I'm coming from California. But like from Miami to Cuba, it's super cheap. But
Yeah.
it was maybe like $600 round trip, I think. So still not terrible.
Yeah. Well, but put it on the
Not
credit
bad.
card, get them points,
Yeah,
so you keep
exactly.
doing it again.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, so like, all right. So after all this stuff, right? Like I said, is hold on. You said how long does it take for these anoles to drop eggs, and like how long does it take for them to hatch?
Anoles in general can lay an egg like one egg a week, and then depending on the species, they'll hatch in like anywhere from like 45 to 60 days.
Damn, dude, that is
Yeah.
like crazy production. I
Yeah.
can only imagine how many eggs you collect, Like generally, how many eggs are you collecting in a week, man? Because that got to be crazy.
Yeah, I usually just do it once a month because I try to get them before they
Mhm.
start hatching in the enclosures. Some of the species I let hatch in the enclosure and it's not a problem because
Yeah.
some species don't hurt their babies, but others will eat their babies. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's like I actually was collecting eggs earlier today and I probably collected a couple hundred. But like I said, when I was at the
Damn.
old place before I thinned down the collection, I was collecting hundreds a month and it was crazy. But that's of course I'm not just keeping pairs. Like I with my red anoles, which are the red brown anoles, I keep like 1.3s and 1.4s. So those cages every month have 20, 25 eggs. It's kind of gets
Damn.
crazy. So, but those are a popular one that I know I can always. Those are easy to sell. And I also have clients in Asia and Europe that I export to, so those ones are like easy to move. So I'm never worried about that. It's kind of the other more obscure stuff. I'm the type that I like to have everything. Like I understand one island has one species, but six subspecies and a bunch of localities. I want them all. So next thing you
Yeah.
know, it's all I have 30 or 40 cages of the same species, but they're subspecies localities. But to everyone except 10 other weirdos like me, they're the same thing. So it starts becoming hard to sell them for what they're worth because they're so rare. So then stuff like that, unfortunately, I I cut a lot of that stuff just because I enjoy it, but at some point I still have to pay for everything. I still have to survive. It still has to make sense. So I still have a lot of things I enjoy, but maybe one day if I win the next lottery or something, I can get all that
Hey, it's
stuff
not like
again.
1.5 billion right now. It's crazy.
I know. I don't. I think someone's supposed to win, or someone won it yesterday in Texas or
Oh,
something. I
really?
don't know. Yeah, I think so.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me because I'm not in
No,
Texas.
not me either.
Right. It wasn't me. I wouldn't be here right now. Man, I guess so. No, you slimmed like was part of it like because we've been this topic of like burnout, right? So was there any part of that into the reasoning of slimming down the collection as well?
No, I never burn out on it. I wish I could keep everything. The thing is, I don't even care to sell babies. I wish I could keep every single baby I hatch. It just this is what I do to make money, so it also has to. Of course,
It
I
has to
want
be
to enjoy it, but I also have to make it make sense because you know, I'm
exactly.
paying
Yeah.
for rent of a place. I'm paying for feeding them and the electricity, and I have to have a car payment. I rent an apartment. I eat, gas. So it's like I got to survive too. So just some things have to. I just came to the realization I have to make some changes. So it was working. It just like I said, some stuff is so obscure that maybe it's not meant for to be on this mass scale like I had it. It's more for the hobbyists, which sucks because I was hoping that some of that stuff could become more popular, but it's just how it goes. So,
Yeah.
but like the
That
micro
is the
geckos,
hard
I've
part.
leaned more into because they, for some reason, have been more popular than the anoles. I think just the idea of a gecko is easier for people to wrap their head around, especially if their first pet was a crested gecko or a leopard gecko. Micro gecko sounds like it's something they can do, and they're easy to take care of. They're small, so they've been more appealing to more people. So, of course, I still have all my anoles, but I've kind of leaned more into the micro gecko thing because it's kind of I enjoy it just as much, and I can have more of them. So it kind of fills that need to want to have a bunch of stuff, and
Fill that void.
they're easier to sell. The nulls have become more of a passion thing. I still breed and sell them, but the micro geckos have kind of been the bread and butter as of recent.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So from I guess from a null perspective, how many anoles from Cuba are you keeping right now?
good question. I have three species of false chameleon, so that's three. I have the streaminol, I have cliffinol, I have cavinol, I have brown. I guess brown anoles are technically from Cuba. What else? I'm looking. That might be it right
Okay.
now. Yeah. So I don't know. That's three, 7 or 8 species.
How many species actually live on Cuba?
I think 63, not including
Oh,
subspecies, and there's lots of sub. Yeah, Cuba's like
Yeah.
the place for anoles, just like New Caledonia is the place for all those geckos, and Madagascar is the place for chameleons. Cuba's the place for the anoles. So
Man,
it's a
yeah, that's a
crazy,
no hub.
crazy amount of species there and crazy subspecies. If you include subspecies, there's hundreds and hundreds of different types of anoles there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And I mean,
so
on my
besides those
trips,
two
I
that you
saw,
saw, yeah,
I saw,
go ahead.
I saw dozens of other species
Okay,
that were amazing. Just the ones that I went for were the stream anole and the cliff anole. But I did see the cave anole, which is one I keep and breed. We saw they're called Anolis maestri. They're like a rock anole, which have a really large red dewlap. They're cool. I used to breed Anolis alogus, which is another one that I cut, unfortunately. They're like a brown anole, but they live like brown anoles are like sunny. They live in the sun. Alogus is very similar to a brown anole, but they live in the forest, like never any UV.
hmm,
Those I used to breed, and we saw those. Those are cool. They're called the Spanish flag anole because of the colors of their dewlap.
huh,
Ano- Anolis luteogularis, which is the giant white-lipped anole. We saw a bunch of those in the west. And when we went to the east, we saw lots of other species of night anoles. In the west, again, where the Cuban stream anoles were, we also saw Anolis barbatus, which is the false chameleon that everyone has. And then when we went to where the cliff anoles were, we saw Anolis chameleonides, which is similar, very closely related to the Cuban false chameleon. I mean, it is a false chameleon, but it's just a different species that looks a little different, more of a golden color on the dewlap and a different spikes and smaller dewlap. That was a cool one too. So, and I'm forgetting a dozen other species we saw. So, yeah, it's a lots of stuff going on there. Anolis alisoni, which has the blue head. We saw those. Anolis porcatus, which is their common green anole, which is technically where our green anole derives from, is their common green anole. And yeah, lots of stuff.
nice.
How big are these anoles? If I don't even know if you'd really be able to tell, but are these lizards? Do they play any significant part in the native Cuban people's lives? Like, there's so many species. It seems like they would maybe. I don't know how I word this. Like, are the people there? Are they aware of the diverse amount of animals that they have? The diverse species of anoles they have in their country?
Well, no, they're not like aware of how special it is because I mean, they're just trying to survive, most of them. But the night anoles and the false chameleons, they have a word for it. I think it's cheap is what they call them. And it's like there's wives' tales of if you get bit by one, you some some weird thing, so the kids avoid them and all weird stuff. But
Yeah,
like in some of the towns, there's murals of like the Alisoni, the Allison's anole with the blue head. There's like ashy geckos, which I breed and are kind of common there. As babies, they hatch out with stripes, and I've some murals of them there.
Okay.
So I mean, they just
So
like a lot of
they
the
have
they're part
influenced
of the
their
culture
culture,
a
you
little
know.
bit.
yeah, yeah, for
That's
sure.
all right.
And
Okay.
similarly, they have a lot of really amazing native birds, which a lot of birders like to go to Cuba, which is why what Luis does like 90% bird tours and 10% herping tours. So there's a lot of appreciation for the native birds and stuff like that, for sure. Especially like in Havana and the places where they have that type of art and, cultural stuff like that. But in the more rural areas where we actually go herping, they appreciate, especially like the places we stay, they appreciate it because the reason we're giving them money to stay with them is because of the animals. But a lot of them don't totally understand why we want to go see them, but they're just happy we're there.
Yeah, I remember watching. I talked to Ant about this documentary before, but it was I guess these scientists did a kind of like not even a test, but like observations on like the knolls in the city compared to the knolls kind of like in their actual native. Like,
hmm
did you notice any difference between like whenever you're coming from the city part going into the country and seeing anything else?
Not well in the cities we didn't really
You
see
didn't really.
any.
Okay.
Yeah, where especially we landed and just kind of took off to go herping, and then on the last day we came back, got back late, and then I left the next morning. So
Okay.
we never really went herping in the city, and I didn't have an opportunity. So I don't really have any. But I've seen that information from Puerto Rico and in Florida.
Yeah, yeah,
They do that research. So yeah, that's super cool.
yeah. Also, next time you go, look around, just see what if you
Yeah,
notice any differences. Like I said, it trips me out every time I watch it. I'm like they're bigger, stronger, faster in the city compared to the wild, which is like okay, like what's really going on and why is that happening? But
I think just it
I
knows
was,
in general how fast they breed. They have to adapt.
yeah,
They evolve very fast. And if their environment's changing, then they have more reason to evolve. So they just. I think the species in general shows evolution better than any other species. I mean, they're an interesting animal. That's for sure.
yeah. That's why they do a lot of research on anoles just because of how fast they change. Like I said, I breed them. A female will lay 4, 5, 6 eggs in a month, and the babies hatch out, and they can breed in like some of them can breed within 6 months. So it's like it's a very fast moving animal. You can have a lot of them in a short time. So the ones that obviously do better are going to stay around and keep going really quick versus a lot of other animals take, a year to mature, 2 years. So they just work that way. And each island has different species that are all very similar, like that aren't even related. Like Dominican Republic and Cuba and Puerto Rico, they're all kind of in that chain, and they all have anoles that fit the same niches, but aren't related to each other. They have twig anoles on each island that aren't related to each other. They have trunk ground anoles that are living kind of on the ground like brown anoles on each island that they don't share common ancestry. They have giant anoles like uh, there's giant anoles in Cuba that aren't related to giant anoles in Puerto Rico that aren't related to giant anoles in Dominican. So it's just very they all change to fit a certain niche, and
It's
they've
a
all
perfect
found
example of divergent evolution. It's
right.
literally what it is. Nature is something, boy. I tell you what.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. All right. So let me ask you something because I know I've been thinking about trying to get some anoles, and I'm still kind of deciding on which one. I've been really kind of like starting to focus in on what was it? The Western Giant Anole. I can't remember the Latin on them, but what would you say for someone that's never had any? What would be like that good? All right, here's your starting point, and then you could kind of start moving up from there.
Yeah, so it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that you want to interact with, uh, be able to, because that's a lot of people ask me about a nose, and it's like, okay, well, do you want to handle it? If you don't want to handle it, do you want to at least tongue feed it? Do you want to be able to see it? How big of an enclosure do you want to get? So that's kind of some of the starting questions. Anolis luteogularis, the white-lipped anole, is a really cool species. They're not like a very handling anole. The only anole I'd recommend to anyone if they want to handle one would be the false chameleon, because those can actually be like they're like a crested gecko. They're like chill. You can
Yeah, they're
hold
pretty
them.
docile, right? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So those, besides those, everything else is not like gonna be a pet. So, but Anolis luteogularis is a very cool species that you can tongue feed and definitely interact with, kind of like how you would interact with a monitor, almost like a dwarf monitor, like an Aki. You can imagine them having that type of personality where you can feed them and they'll look at you and they know what's going on. So that's definitely a cool one.
Nice.
But of course, they get large and they will need a large enclosure. So that's the only downfall with them. And being a crown giant, which is what you call like a giant anole from Cuba, they they like a lot of warmth, so they do need a pretty good hot spot, like over 100, 110. But other than that,
Nice. Okay.
they're very easy and they're really rewarding. So they're a really cool one. They're one of my favorites of the big anoles for sure.
Yeah, I definitely want me like. There's something about those giant anoles that just get me. I'm like, man, I love those things.
Yeah.
Like every time I look at them, like I'm on Morph Market looking, I'm like, man, one of these days, like like I was still trying to decide on what my first lizard's gonna be, but I kind of already made that decision. So I'm getting some of those toad head agamas. Uh,
Nice.
so yeah, I got a pair coming probably October. So I was like, well, that's gonna be my first lizard. Now I just want to, but I do want to dabble into other stuff because all I got are geckos and like a pair of frogs. That's it. So I'm starting to dabble into other stuff, and man, I don't like. I definitely want. I needed a knoll in my life.
Yeah, those are really
Yeah,
cool ones for sure.
yeah. So how has Palm Street been treating you? Because I've caught a few of your caught a few of them. How's it treating you?
Palm Street's been really cool. I actually enjoy doing them. It's just a cool way for people to kind of, because Morph Market's great. I love Morph Market. I couldn't do it without Morph Market. But sometimes the communication can be lengthy and like drawn out, and people don't really. It's harder. But Palm Street's easy because the comments there. I'm talking to people. Literally, it's like having a conversation, but it's 100 people there, and it's easy to do. And it's also a great way to for people to get a good deal on stuff because I hatch a lot of stuff, so it's also a nice way for me to not just give stuff away to people who don't care, but also people who because it's not like random people are bidding. It's like they know what they're getting into, but it's a nice way for them to get a good deal, me to be able to send out animals. It works. It's worked out. I like it, but it's not like I have, thousands now, especially now that I kind of downsized. I don't have thousands and thousands of stuff. So I did a few. Now I'm holding on to stuff for. I have a reptile super show next weekend, which I'm gonna have a
Okay.
lot of stuff for, and then maybe I'll do another Palm Street like in a couple weeks, depending what I have left over from the show. But yeah, it's been cool. I like being able to talk to people and kind of answer questions on the spot. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what's up. And I see
yeah,
that, like I said, I started noticing like you're starting to come back with the YouTube. So what's your whole planning with that stuff? Like, are you gonna try to do like weekly, monthly? Like, what's the plan with that?
yeah. My plan was originally
I
to do
miss my
weekly with the
series.
youth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to do weekly with the YouTube, but I haven't been very good about it. Just because I've been still like, even though I moved everything over here, I'm still have a lot of stuff to do. Like this week, I finally just finished installing all my misting system. No, I didn't even finish because I still have one behind me. I need to install, but I finished most of that, and I'm still like planning enclosures and getting everything squared away. So, and of course, the animal. I always say the animal stuff comes way before even thinking about filming a
Right.
video. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, once it's everything's a little more dialed and stable, I'm gonna try to do weekly.
Okay.
And right now, I've just been trying to film what I've been doing, but like filming, setting up all the stuff and random like shipping days and stuff like that. But I hope to be able to get to a point where I can like film specific care videos of different species. Those are very highly
That's what I'm missing.
requested videos. So
Yes, I'm missing those right now.
yeah, and I don't want to half-ass it. So I just want to make sure when I do it right. But of course, that's also why I haven't done YouTube for years because I feel like every time I do it, I'm half-assing it. So it's just a thing where I have to force myself to do it and accept that they're not all going to be perfect videos. So yeah, trying to get back slowly but surely getting back there.
Yeah. Like I said, like I think one of my favorite ones is when you guys were talking about the iguana. You and your I can't remember who your buddy was that was doing you were doing it with, but that was one of my favorite videos. Like just seeing that iguana and like you guys talking about how to care for it and all that good
But
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are really good. I miss those. Those need to come back, man. All right, and you got anything?
No, it was a blast talking to you. I want you to go back again so I can ask more questions.
I
You
would
know, I'm
love
all
to. I
excited
hope I
about Cuba,
can
man. I'm
soon.
like sitting here looking
Yeah,
at the maps. I mean, as soon as we get off here, I'm going to go watch a documentary on Cuba.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. The people are amazing.
You know, I
There's
want to
so
know more
much.
now. I want to know more about the people and the history and the country. I mean, it's
Yeah,
something I guess that we all take for granted. You know, I mean, I live here in America, and I'd be lying if I said I knew much about Cuba and what the issue is with America and what the problem is. I mean, now I want to go down that wormhole. So,
yeah,
I mean, I know it's not reptile related, but thank you for that.
yes. Yeah, no, Cuba, it's an amazing place, and it's a bummer we have the issues we do with them because it's so close. I mean, it's 45
yeah,
minutes from Miami on a flight. So it's so easy to get there. It's a beautiful island, and yeah, it's cool. But hopefully I go back soon. But like I said, the trips are expensive, so it's not something I can just do on a whim. And I gotta find someone
Yeah.
to help me take care of stuff while I'm gone. But yeah, hope I can go back sooner than later for sure.
So, do you got any other plans of visiting any other countries in the near future?
No, unfortunately not. Just right now, that trip was planned way ahead of time, and now that I'm moved and still trying to get stuff set up, the priority is trying to get this place perfect so that I can. I also, like you said, I want to do the YouTube. I really want to focus on that. So I want to do that before I do any of the more traveling. Of course, I want to, but gotta gotta do the important stuff first before I go have fun.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, where can everybody find you at?
You find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, uh, Facebook, all at Herp Time.
All right, cool. You guys make sure y'all check out that YouTube videos. Like he got some great stuff on there. Like I said, he has that herping in Cuba, and all those anoles. Now I'm saying, I've seen the shipping videos. Like I said, I love his educational videos. No, he's talking about the iguanas. I think you had one on about a frog too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. See, yeah, check him out. He got great content. It's unbelievable.
thank you.
The stuff that you learn on there is ridiculous. So make sure you guys check it out.
Check them out,
Other than
guys.
that,
Herp time.
you know, yeah. Other than that, everybody have a great night, afternoon, morning, whenever you guys listen to this, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, creeping in the dark, life nocturnal, dark and dark, both paths arboreal to terrestrial. Sticky toes gripping forest students that explore. Listen close, Gecko podcast, that's knowledge galore. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Escaping heat waves, tan under rays, desert sand echoes, sun blazing days. Little hustlers, camouflage a maze, catch them speaking wisdom, the wild on replay. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Scurrying through the leaves, shadows unseen. Master of the skies, chameleon dream. Lizard tails flip, script getting clean. Gecko exchange, true reptile fiends. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason. Trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining. With every chat, reptile game changing. Scuttling through the leaves, shadows unseen. Master of disguise.